When people discover I have a design background, they often ask me to make something look nice. This reveals a still persistent misconception that design equals decoration. Today, design has evolved far beyond styling. From the industrial and architectural design pioneers of the mid 20th century, Ray and Charles Eames, Paul Rand, Greta Magnuson Grossman, and Dieter Rams, to modern strategic consultancies like IDEO, Arup, and Fuse Project, our field has systematically expanded its scope and impact. Today, design encompasses human-centered methodology, systems thinking, and strategic innovation. Our field has moved from crafting beautiful objects to addressing complex socio-technical economic challenges. We've become advocates for end users and the environment, developing tools like participatory design and co-design to build strategic empathy and foster collaboration. The question I would like to pose is this: what is the role of design in our anthropocentric world of artificial systems built atop fragile natural ecology? I argue that design offers a fully fledged alternative to technological disruption and traditional intervention-based social innovation. Through hypothetical abductive reasoning and ecological principles, design provides 9 unique qualities that make it ideal for solving today's wicked problems and for creating ecologically balanced artificial socio-technical systems. The best way to predict a more humane and ecologically sound future is to design it. Social activist and philosopher Grace Lee Boggs captured our present moment perfectly by suggesting that we are at one of the great turning points in human history. The evidence is stark. Human impact on the planet is undeniable. We've depleted the oceans, poisoned our rivers, and created air and light pollution that causes respiratory crises, unpredictable climate shift, and disrupts entire living ecosystems. Our political ecosystems are polarized to the point of conflict, and our economic systems show signs of similar imbalance. Citigroup's 2005 report coined a term, plutonomy, to describe a form of economy driven by wealthy consumers that makes the middle class economically irrelevant. Technology is supposed to be our great savior, but disruptive technologies like AI and robotics now challenge our expectations regarding entire job categories. As Melvin Kranzberg argued, technology isn't neutral, it amplifies human desire, whether that means curing cancer or eliminating middle-class jobs. Personal computer pioneer Alan Kay argued at Xerox PARC that the best way to predict the future is to invent it. Unfortunately, invention without intent is quite capable of merely introducing novelty rather than solving complex problems. There's a world of difference between invention and design. To create a humane-centered future, we must learn how to design socio-technical ecosystems that mirror nature's homeostatic balance. As design theorist Victor Papanek argued, design is a universal human practice. The Dalai Lama's principal English translator, Thupten Jinpa, once told IDEO's Tom and David Kelly that the Tibetan language has no equivalent expression for describing someone as being creative. The closest way to describe creativity is to say that someone is being natural. From the cave painters to African sculptors, Haida mask carvers, Chinese inventors of the compass and printing, to the Renaissance polymaths like Leonardo da Vinci, design pioneers like Muriel Cooper and Zaha Hadid, all laid the foundation for humanity's ability to create the artificial by imagining what isn't present to the senses and to speculate on the consequences of our actions. Even though design is now considered to be one of the 3 fundamental dimensions of human intelligence, alongside science and art, design practitioners struggled to achieve academic and professional respect for years. This changed in part due to the influence of the cognitive psychologist and polymath Herbert Simon, who recognized design's unique strategic value. His 1969 book, The Sciences of the Artificial, proposed that while natural sciences discover how things are, design stands alone in exploring how things could be. Simon defined design as purposeful transformation, or taking courses of action aimed at changing existing situations into preferred ones. He envisioned design as a process where cyclical interaction between problem solvers and problem spaces generates successive iterations that in time transform undesirable status quos into desirable states. Here's the second question. Is there something we can refer to as a designer's mindset? Can we actually change our deeply ingrained cognitive biases to become better problem solvers? Adherence to rigid mindsets gives us the convenience of staying in the comfort zone, but it hampers our ability to solve problems in innovative ways. System dynamics. Theorist Donella Meadows classified the paradigm from which social system goals, structure, and rules arise as the second most effective leverage point for socio-technical systemic change. She argued that the power to transcend the paradigm is the most effective, yet hardest leverage point to reach. Psychiatrist and neuroscientist Ian McGilchrist argues that our ability to stand back from lived experience and gain broader perspective on our actions might actually define what it means to be human. As conscious beings, we don't have to believe everything we think. Stanford researcher Carol Dweck calls the belief in our ability to move beyond the well-tried paradigms as the growth mindset, our capacity to change and grow over time. At the Stanford D School, faculty apply the principle of the growth mindset by using guided mastery techniques, starting with low-level challenges and building creative confidence over time. Mel Schwartz's possibility mindset reframes uncertainty not as threat, but as the very condition that makes transformation possible. Mindfulness is the practice of deliberately bringing one's attention to the present moment without judgment. For designers, it's a powerful tool for noticing details others miss. It is a way to break free from habitual thinking patterns and creating space between stimulus and response where true creativity emerges. I like to think of the designer's mindset as a form of mindfulness expressed by 9 fundamental guiding principles. 1. Embracing the creation of artificial systems. 2. Based on our ability to be purposeful. 3. Engaging in transformative change-making through 4. Systems-level ecological thinking, acknowledging design as 5. Humane-Centered, 6. Rhetorical, 7. Pragmatic, 8. And Trans-disciplinary problem-solving practice that is capable of addressing 9. Generative uncertainty through iterative hypothesis testing. We are living in the post-Promethean and post-Darwinian age, a time when we've moved beyond stealing fire from the gods to rewriting the code of life itself. If Darwin visited a city like London today, he'd be shocked not just by our technology, but by us. We're taller, healthier, living twice as long. But if he looked a bit closer, he'd also notice something more profound. Natural selection isn't the only game in town anymore. Humans have become co-authors of evolution through what Juan Enriquez and Stephen Gullens call non-random mutation and unnatural selection. Half of Earth's landmass now grows what we want, not what would naturally thrive there. We edit genes with CRISPR. We live in climate-controlled bubbles and eat engineered foods. Every time we reach for that soap that kills 99% of bacteria, we're inadvertently designing the future, selecting for that resistant 1% without understanding the consequences. We're editing the Earth's biosystem we barely comprehend. We need to ask, how ready are we for the responsibility that comes with the Promethean power of redesigning the world? Whether we acknowledge it or not, we are already deciding what lives and dies on this planet. The question is, will we do it mindfully or by accident? If we pause to think about the people who have changed the world, such as Martin Luther King, who imagined children of all races joining hands, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, who dreamed of putting computers in the hands of ordinary people, or Jane Goodall, who imagined what we could learn about ourselves by truly understanding primates. We see that each one of these pioneers were driven by clear purpose. Charles Eames advised designers never to delegate understanding. In design, intentionality isn't optional, it's everything. Purposefulness defines transformative change-making. Herbert Simon argued that successful problem solvers seem to work backward from the well-defined end states. Otto Scharmer found that the most successful innovators focus on just two things: where they want to go and the very next step to get there. English rhetorician I.A. Richards gave us a tool called feed forward, the ability to mentally pretest consequences before taking any action. Unlike feedback, feed forward lets us imagine what could happen instead of responding to what has already happened. Marshall McLuhan used the feed forward method to probe how media technologies would reshape society. Extraordinary changemakers ask the question why before they ask the question how. As designers creating artificial worlds, we need feed-forward thinking more than ever. Purposeful design isn't just about achieving our goals. It's about understanding our goals and their potential consequences before we accomplish them. Mindful designers understand the difference between things that are transformational and things that are transformative. While transformational change tends to define random events that happen to us, like a lightning strike that starts a forest fire, transformative change springs from mindfulness leading to purposeful action. There's a purpose behind it. It is strategic. As designers, we are not in the business of inventing disruptive technologies. We are in the business of generating testable hypotheses of what an ecologically sound future may look like. Simon gave us one of the most elegant yet powerful definitions of design when he stated that designers devise courses of action aimed at changing existing situations into preferred ones. In James Greenough's cognitive framework, transformative problem solving involves shifting from a search for a solution within a set of rules to a process of redefining the problem space itself. Transformative designers use operators to modify the initial conditions, essentially transforming the structure of the task as they explore it. Transformative approach views design as a constructive activity where the problem and the solution co-evolve together. Because our knowledge is always imperfect, iteration becomes our design superpower. We act, we observe, we adjust, and we act again. Iteration is how we turn intention into transformation. Somewhere along the way between drawing corporate logos with brushes and ink, giving form to consumer products, and designing UX/UI for computing applications, our field has undergone a paradigm shift from creating standalone products to designing socio-technical systems. Graphic designers and architects have understood the systemic nature of design for a long time. Every layout and every building is a system of interrelated parts that comes alive through such design principles as flow, balance, and coherence. Once we start seeing systems, we can't unsee them. Forests are ecosystems. Cities are ecosystems. Even autonomous cars are not autonomous at all. Like a single toad in a pond, an autonomous vehicle is completely dependent on its ecosystem of sensors, chips, software, and GPS to move around. The difference between a system and a heap is the difference between rocks scattered on a road and a basketball team. We can add or remove a few rocks and nothing changes. But if we remove a key player from a well-coordinated team, we alter the entire team dynamic. Surgeons do not randomly remove organs because living systems are not heaps. They are interconnected wholes where every part matters. Today's artificial systems sit at the intersection of nature, technology, economy, society, and culture. Their complexity comes from having to satisfy environmental limits, technological possibilities, economic demands, social diversity, and cultural desires, often all at once. This is why design thinking is considered to be the third generation of systems thinking. We're not just artifact makers or even problem solvers anymore. We're ecosystem architects working in a multi-minded, self-organizing world. The key question concerning design today is, are we going to design systems that serve us, or are we just going to add more rocks to the pile? While initially well-intentioned, decades of human-centered design have created a major problem. We have optimized our system for efficiency and convenience at the expense of everything else. We have inadvertently raised generations of humans who cannot cook a fresh meal, cannot navigate their own city without the use of GPS, and cannot focus or form deep relationships if it means looking away from their digital devices. Research shows that Inuit youth can no longer follow traditional wayfinding from their elders because they are dependent on skidoos and GPS. We are isolating billions of humans from their food sources, their communities, and their basic cognitive skills, all in the name of compelling user experience. Human-centered design has become ego-centered design, externalizing social and environmental costs as if our consumer society exists separately from the ecosystem we inhabit. Social media apps are technically flawless while contributing to teen depression. E-commerce is the pinnacle of UX design while driving overconsumption and environmental degradation. It is our responsibility as design professionals to jumpstart a shift from ego-centered to ecologically minded, humane-centered design. Being humane means acting with compassion and consideration for all living beings. It is how artificial systems can be designed to achieve ecological balance between people, planet, and profit. If this sounds naive, let us consider this. Every problem created by ego-centrism is now an opportunity for innovation. The Chinese concept of crisis, Wei Ji, means both danger and pivotal moment for transformation. Our corporate clients thrive by being loved, not shunned. Cultural currency matters. Leading business schools tell their students that they don't have to leave their values at the door when they come to work. If we, as design professionals, have earned a seat at the adult table, let's use it for good. Humane-centered design isn't just ethical, it's the future of market leadership. Designers have always been persuaders, whether we realized it or not. Designers, by virtue of their talent, training, and skills, are in a unique position to introduce new objects and practices into social systems. Even if at first we might be puzzled by such design proposals as the personal computer, the iPhone, the Google search, or the Guangzhou Opera House, sooner or later we come to embrace and love them. Designers make the unimaginable not just possible, but desirable. Today's designers wield persuasive capabilities that traditional rhetoricians could have never dreamed of. We're not working with hammers and chisels or even interactive media anymore. Today's persuasive design tools combine advanced computation capable of procedural rhetoric, immersive multisensory experiences, and sensors and algorithms that can actively monitor and respond to users in real time based on their emotional state and behavior. Rhetorical cautioned that beautiful UX design might seduce us into accepting things at interface value, creating simulation without understanding. When persuasion lacks transparency, it stops being persuasion and becomes coercion. The gap between technological complexity and our rhetorical mastery is growing. That imbalance shifts power toward those who control socio-technical systems. Rhetorical design framework demands a question. Are we designing systems that support genuine user agency and self-efficacy, or are we inadvertently building sophisticated mechanisms of control? This isn't just a design question. It's a question about the social contract between designers and the people we serve. Mark Twain once said, "It's not what we don't know that gets us in trouble. It's what we know for sure that just ain't so." Rigid certainty. It's the enemy of good design. If I could share one insight with you today, it's this. Stripped to its essence, design is strategic, applied problem solving. And because of that, design is fundamentally pragmatic. It's about what works, not what sounds good. Long before design PhDs existed, people were solving problems, overcoming obstacles, making life more livable. That's the DNA of our practice. Classical pragmatism gives us a framework that's perfect for designers. It bridges theory and practice. It assumes all understanding is provisional. Nothing is carved in stone. Knowledge must be falsifiable through experimentation. Pragmatic designers move through 4 levels of clarity. First, deep observation of the problem. Second, formulating key insights from that data. Third, generating hypotheses about what effects our solutions might produce. And fourth, testing those hypotheses in the real world. This isn't about chasing absolute certainty. It's about pursuing effective solutions. Success isn't measured by how elegant our theory is, but by how closely our solution brings us to our stated goal. That's the pragmatic heart of design, mixing the cycles of thinking to build with building to think, working together in an iterative cycles of learning and improvement. Western science gave us something powerful, reductionism, to break complex things into simple parts, so we can study them deeply and build vast bodies of knowledge. Reductionism worked brilliantly for a while. But here's the problem. Our biggest challenges don't respect disciplinary boundaries. Climate change, social inequality, economic instability. These aren't biology problems or economics problems or engineering problems. They're all of those at once. The great biologist E.O. Wilson argued that the solutions to our grandest challenges will come from what he referred to as consilience, a synthesis of knowledge from diverse disciplines found equally within the social and the natural sciences. This is where design thinking shines. Tom Kelly describes this design superpower as the T-shaped mindset, deep expertise in our own discipline, matched by a breadth across multiple problem-relevant fields. T-shaped thinkers can collaborate with experts and aggregate knowledge in ways that single discipline masters do not. Helena Dunnan-Woyseth frames this as Mode 1 versus Mode 2 of knowledge production. Mode 1 is disciplinary, hierarchical, solving problems defined by narrow academic communities. Mode 2 is transdisciplinary, collaborative, heterogeneous, convening diverse practitioners around specific applied problems. True transdisciplinarity doesn't happen automatically when we put different experts in a room. It requires integrative thinking, the willingness to embrace competing constraints and synthesize them into harmonious solutions. As Tim Brown argues, accepting competing constraints isn't a bug of design thinking, it is its foundation. Designers thrive on bringing conflicting demands into balance, and that's exactly what our grandest challenges require. It may seem counterintuitive to think that proposing new visions of the future is not a domain of risk. Aren't innovators risk takers, after all? As it turns out, change makers do not deal with risk, but with generative uncertainty. In the case of risk, we do not know the outcome, but we do know the probability distribution governing that outcome, so we can manage risk by calculating the probability of various potential outcomes. Uncertainty is different. When we create something new to the world, we have no past performance data to rely on. We do not know the outcome or the probabilities. That's where designers live. Designers and design-minded change makers need to shift their mindset from the architecture of control to the architecture of discovery. Deterministic approaches do not work in a world of generative uncertainty where blueprints are a trap. In environments of true uncertainty, the most rational path is not a straight line, but a directed, random walk. Socio-technical economic systems are mathematically chaotic. Small policy shifts can have massive unintended consequences, well known as the butterfly effect. To function effectively in the world of uncertainty, designers need a navigation system for the problem-solution spaces they deal with. The high-dimensional problem-solution spaces, parts of which were separately addressed by various design thinkers, the founders of dynamical systems theory, and by Simon and Newell, who were cognitive scientists interested in problem-solving, are vast, foggy, and nonlinear. Iterative design probes are stochastic in nature. We do not try to guess the right answers, but we sample the space of possibility using iterative stochastic pulses such as MVPs, pilots, and quick prototypes. Our destination is the strange attractor, an ecologically sound, stable, resilient point where a policy or product fits the lived reality of the system being transformed. Our mindsets are important because they form the paradigms from which the goals, structures, and rules of our artificial systems arise. They also empower or inhibit our ability to transcend them. Our maps of the world are deeply rooted in the environments we live in. They are not easy to change as long as we believe that they are our worlds. However, we can transcend them once we realize that we are capable of adopting a growth mindset. As Meadows argued, to truly begin engaging in effective, transformative change, we need to rise above our limiting operating worldviews. To transform the world in crisis, we must first pause and critically examine our operating mindsets to determine if they are truly serving our long-term well-being. In design, we already have a discipline capable of embracing a mindset conducive to transformative change-making. What ties all the different design specializations together is the designer's mindset, which gives us the ability to redefine problems as opportunities to learn, to grow, to transform undesirable status quos into more ecologically sound states, to elevate the human condition, to prosper, and to make life more livable and meaningful for all. The designer's mindset offers not a single correct way to view the world, but an explicit portable framework for elevated mindfulness. I like to think of the designer's mindset as a toolbox of 9 design superpowers ready for problem solving in the complex world.